All right, there it goes. All right, hello everyone. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Debbie Martin, and today, hopefully, you are here to discuss the Wheat OY survey. I want to start by letting you know we're not reviewing anything that is survey specific, like the data or the materials and data you reviewed from the home study. Right now, our goal is to focus on the materials, enumerator training, and data collection procedures. However, we do have some folks from NASS who have joined us here. So at the end, if you do have questions, whether it was from the home study, one of the forms, field procedures, we want to ensure all those questions are asked and answered before we leave today. So please, if you have any questions about anything we review, anything from the home study, we're going to make sure those are all covered today. All right, I also know that we are going to go over the lunch hour for some of us. I am really sorry. Trying to get East Coast and West Coast together will always mean we're hitting some lunch. So if you're ready to eat, please just turn your camera off and you can continue watching the presentation. We will have a break here in the middle. However, if you ever need to stand up and stretch in between, once again, just turn your camera off so people don't see you moving around in the background. And then you can turn your camera back on when you're ready to let us see you again. If you are new to Teams, I think most of you guys have been using Teams now, but if you are new to Teams, there is an option to add comments and also raise your hand just like we do in Zoom. So please, if we're ever in a slide and you have a question or a comment, please just raise your hand, put a comment in the chat, and we want to make sure we address everything as we go. Before I officially dive in, I want to start with an apology. I love to try and make these things as interactive as possible. That's not quite as easy in today's presentation, so I apologize. You are going to listen to me speak a little bit more than I appreciate. I am going to try and get some of your expertise as we go through, though, so hopefully we're going to get a little discussion through some of our slides. All right, so first we're going to start off with all of our survey materials and supplies. I think we can all agree we learned an awful lot last fall with our other OY surveys, also with like our SEEP and ARMS 3, that when we ship it to our materials, to our managers, and we have that one bulk shipping there, it has allowed our shipments to come in faster and with less mistakes. So before I go through all of the supplies, I want to start off, everything is being shipped from NASS to managers. But that being said, managers, please do not feel like you need to take all the responsibility on yourself. If you have an enumerator or a coach that is nearby, you can have someone that can come by and help you sort through some of your materials. If you are traveling to the schools, possibly arrive early, and then coaches, managers, you can work together to split it out. There is no one size fits all because all of you are in different circumstances. But like I said, please do not try and take on everything all by yourself. So in the same manner, please determine the way or the best way to distribute it to your teams. That could be shipping UPS to your coaches, meeting with a coach or a manager or coach or an enumerator to take it to a school, or attending the session yourself. My only request is if you're going to ship, please make sure that you have enough time to get or to ship the materials to your coaches for them to get the shipment before their training. All the materials are to be distributed to the enumerators at the field sessions before they leave. We're going to talk about the supplies and materials in the next few slides. NASS will be providing us with a list of what was shipped to each manager. So once they are completely done with their shipping, we'll get that list and we will share it to managers so you will know exactly what you will be receiving in the boxes. All right. I want to also emphasize that the number of supplies that were shipped to you guys were determined based on, I'm going to say CAPI managers on March 31st. Extra supplies were given to every single manager just to account for any potential error. However, if a manager has changed, and we noticed that in a couple areas, so if a manager changed and all of a sudden has a larger workload, we've accommodated. I hope we ended up sending out an extra box. However, if you do see that you're short something, please work with the manager that was previously assigned those records to ensure that you have all the supplies that you need. All right, so the first thing that you guys are going to get in your supplies is each enumerator is going to have a list to help distribute the materials to them. So it's going to have all of their sampled operations on the, I'm going to say the other side, and then any additional pages. So it just depends on how many assignments each enumerator has, is how many pages that they will have. This was printed based on the assignments on April 6th. Okay, assignments were supposed to be due on the 4th. If you make any changes after the 6th, this enumerator listing is going to be incorrect. Okay, so if you made any reassignments, please use CAPI to distribute assignments. The easiest option, and I'm going to be honest, I have a few things I'm going to repeat that is intentional. The easiest option is going to have state and sequence number in the CAPI grid. Sequence number is equal to that sample number. So having that in the grid is going to help you easily distribute the supplies to your enumerators. Christine?
I'm, excuse me, I don't know if everybody else has noticed this, but there is a glitch in CAPI to where when you initially log in, the sequence number doesn't always show. So you need to go over to on the gear and hide it and then unhide it, and then it shows up.
Thank you for sharing that. That is good to know. So yes, if you do not have sequence number, make sure you go pull that back in. Thank you. To get to, I have a few tips that Hannah shared with when they were packaging. Because these assignment listings, they have the PII, they are in a white Tyvek inside your boxes. So you will be able to find them in the white Tyvek. All right, I'm not going to go over everything specifically, but here is a list of the equipment enumerators need to set up their samples and complete their Form Bs. Managers, if you completed your NAS supply request, you will receive the requested NAS supplies. For the NASDA supplies, the bucket, mallet, shears, first aid kit, clipboard, and markers and pencils. Hopefully you guys have already been working with your ADs. If you have not, please work with your ADs to ensure all the enumerators have all the supplies that they need. Enumerators need to be keeping these materials from 1 year to the next. So all the supplies that we have here, including any unused sample bundles. In the future, we might be seeing a supply request including how many sample bundles or gleanings you need. So just possible future requests on that one. If we ever do have an enumerator quit, whether that is during OY sample data collection or outside, coaches, we need to make sure we are getting those materials back from that enumerator. All right, so NASA shipped 1 sample bundle per sample. Every 4th sample is getting a gleaning and also half a roll per sample or flagging ribbon per sample. Every manager was shipped extra bundles, bundle supplies, and flagging ribbon in case either an enumerator quits or if an enumerator is, or if a bundle is missing material. So I want to go over that just a little bit more in depth. NAS used bundles created in previous years, And some of the counts have changed over the years. Or if it was possibly done in a regional office could have done things slightly different. I want to start by saying that it seems like a lot of the counts have actually gone a little bit lower. So hopefully that a bundle would actually have more supplies than they need. But just in case there were any sort of issues, everyone is getting extra bundles. So one thing I would like to request from every enumerator, ideally they're doing this before they go out to the field, open up that bundle, make sure they have all the materials that they need to complete the field. All right. Also, it is during shipping, it is possible that gleaning and sample bundles were put in the same box. It's very easy to differentiate. The gleaning is a lot smaller of a bag. However, they are all labeled. So please, as you're distributing, just make sure that you make sure they get the appropriate number of sample and gleaning bundles per enumerator. All right, so for this is something that has changed. If you guys were not in a fall survey, if you do not have corn or soybeans, this is something that is going to be new. So managers are going to receive all the paper materials for the kit envelopes, but they are not going to be assembled. And overall, it is very, I want to say generic. The only things that are labeled are your Form A's and your Form E's. So this is one thing managers, you and hopefully someone will be helping you. You need to ensure that the correct counts go to every single coach. So for example, you need to make sure that a coach has the correct number of kit envelopes, Form B's, and those types of materials at the schools. However, the assembly is expected and required, I want to say required to be done at the field sessions. A couple of reasons. One, I'll be honest, used to work on this survey. We had a team that used to put these together in the offices. It would take us some time to do that. We are not wanting to put that on any one person to assemble all of it on their own. If you're doing it at the schools, with your enumerators, we can get through it a lot cleaner and quicker and with having that additional help. Okay, so right here on the left side, it shows all the materials that you have. On the right, it is saying how many goes into every kit envelope. And there are some resources both in the manual and some paper materials that you'll be getting to help you with this as well that I'll go over in just a moment. The only pieces that are in the kit envelope, as I mentioned, that are enumerator specific will be the labeled Form A and the labeled Form E. One thing that they were able to do for us, which we really appreciate, is the labeled Form E's are actually inside the labeled Form A's. So that is one less thing to worry about the enumerator specific side. So make sure those go to the correct one. For the Form A's, they are sorted by manager, coach, enumerator, state, sample number. So ideally, once again, as long as there were no assignment changes, that order is going to be exactly the way you need to go. If there were, it is possible you need to go through and make sure enumerators have the correct one. And as we point out, probably every single school, make sure before the enumerators leave, they're looking at CAPI, they have their kit envelopes, and ensuring that they have every single sample that is assigned to them before leaving. All right, I just have a little bit, I guess, a visual on how to organize and assemble kit envelopes. It's recommended to lay out the paper materials on a table and enumerators put each kit together one at a time. I'll be honest, when I was in the office, this is fairly similar to what I would have done. No matter what works best for you and your group, as I mentioned before, all the kits need to be assembled before the enumerators leave your session. I mentioned on the last slide, only your Form A's are labeled. Okay. All right, so some additional materials that NASA are going to be provided is one, every sample should have plenty of labels to ship to the nod or to the lab. So for our UPS labels, once again, they're being shipped to our managers, but they're going to be shipped in 2 different color of packages. So they are yellow and green. I was told bags, not Tyvek, bags. Between your 2-day and your 1-day air. So hopefully that will help you guys as you're splitting them out, keeping them organized of your different colors for that. The 2-day shipping should be used for samples unless it is being shipped on the first day of the month. Or in reverse, it's the last day of the count period. Okay, so we should always be using that 2-day air unless it's being shipped on the first day of the month. The wheat brochure is something that is on the website that is also going to be included for every single enumerator. Let's try this. There we go. NAS sent 25, originally sent 25 to every manager, and that accounted for almost all of you for the number of enumerators you had. Marcia and Amanda, you guys had more, you had a few more than 25, so you will be getting more in the UPS here shortly. But this is something, I'm not going over the form in detail right here, but this is something enumerators are recommended to take to the field with them because it has pictures on laying out the unit and maturity codes to help them with their Form Bs. The other piece that everyone will get is the quality control for the coaches to have for their enumerators, and we will discuss that here in a little bit. Yolanda?
I have 3-day UPS service. Sometimes I'm out. I don't go near a drop-off. And so those 1-day air, even if they won't come pick them up except those 3 days that they do deliver. So I guess I just want it known, I guess.
No, thank you for sharing. It kind of goes back to everyone is in a little bit different situation, whether they have UPS near them, pickups, drop-offs, things like that. If you are in an area that will not allow 1 to 2-day shipping, I know that this can be very difficult, especially depending on your sample size, but I recommend try and get them done earlier in the sample period so we can make sure they get to the lab before they have to have everything clean for their summaries. Once again, I know that's not always possible, but in that situation, I would do your best to try and get them out as early as possible. All right, the last piece for materials are going to be bamboo sticks, and this is something that we are purchasing on the NASDA side. Once again, managers, if you have not already done so, please work with your ADs to get these purchased for the groups. So everyone has them before we get to the training schools. All right, I know I have talked a lot already, and I am going to apologize on that a few more times, but before we move on to going into like home study and the field sessions, do we have any questions or comments about any of the supplies and materials you will be receiving? David?
Normally we use 4 bamboo poles per field, per sample, especially if there's not like a fence to wrap anything around for your steps and stuff like that. If they're only providing 3 per sample, what are going to be our recommendations to our enumerators on where to use the 4th doing their steps and stuff?
We are learning all states did things a little bit differently. Fun of trying to do this at a national level.
Because we have a lot
So-
of fields here in Oklahoma that don't have fences around their wheat and stuff.
So what the original recommendation is that you
Uh-oh, did I
have it
lose
where you're
y'all?
entering the field and then before each of your units. If this is something that you feel is necessary for your area and you have an explanation on it, I'd work with your manager to make sure that that is something that is provided. I want to be honest, we want to make sure we always provide you with the materials that you need to be successful. And if having one extra bamboo stick on it to make sure you're marking your starting corner or whatever it might be, please just work with your manager and AD on it.
Okay, I lost you on that. My internet went off. I'm assuming you said if we needed more bamboo poles, let our manager know.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. All right, there's a comment in the chat. Can managers come to our training? I'm going back to before, as everyone is in a completely different scenario on either distance or experience, things like that. So please work with your manager and your ADs if necessary to determine what is best for your area. There probably will be some areas managers do attend. There will be others that simply cannot attend for some reason or another. Any other questions or comments before we move on? Okay. All right, we're gonna dive in. Oh, Leah.
Debbie, there is a question in the chat. I didn't want to answer it, but
Oh, that was why I said if managers can attend. Sorry, I just verbally answered that one.
okay. We're good.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right, so moving into the home study. As you noticed in the memo that was sent out to you, possibly your ADs cleaned it up a little bit for you, but because field practices are different across all the states, it's up to the coaches and managers to communicate with enumerators in a timely manner about completing the home study. Ideally, you need to get the communication to your enumerators at least 10 days before field practice. I'm aware that we had Kansas, Oklahoma, Texas. We were obviously a little bit more scrunched for time, and that's okay. But we really want to make sure that they can have enough time to get all of their review in before they go out. Everyone here should have completed the home study. But I'm just going to go over a few of the pieces as well right here for us all. So all of the materials are on your regional web pages. The interviewer manual was heavily revised this year, and it's meant to be the primary source for survey instructions. So I'm going to add, if you have any feedback on it, please let us know. I know that our NAS OY team really tried to make this as good as possible for you and a lot cleaner to go through and review those different pieces. So thank you to them for all their effort on there. It has been broken into individual chapters to assist with training, and the full version is at the very bottom as well in the additional resources. So as you noticed, it would have like the Form A interviewer manual pieces, Form B interviewer manual pieces, and at the very bottom it had the whole piece or the entire thing if an enumerator had something they wanted to review in that manner. What is really nice on the way that we formatted the home study this year is you start at the top and we work our way down. So once again, Form A, review the interviewer manual, watch the videos, and then review any PowerPoint slides as well. There are also additional materials such as the brochure that I mentioned. We have the OY dates and timelines, and then the different questionnaires are at the bottom for enumerators to go over. For the home study quiz, Once again, hopefully this is something you guys were all able to notice as you completed your own home study quiz. Is now you guys are going to get an email response for every enumerator that submits or after they complete their quiz. What it's going to do is it's going to have their score on the top. We would like you to go over questions that the enumerators missed. If there is an enumerator that struggled, it is your responsibility to work with that enumerator before the field session. And on the other side, if you have an enumerator who has not completed their home study quiz, they must complete that before they get to the field practice. Oh. I am now seeing a stove. Just a moment. While I'm getting our PowerPoint back, I have a couple of hands. Lester?
Yes, how many hours for home study?
We had 3 hours on the home study. If you have a new enumerator and they need more time, please just make sure that they have the appropriate amount of time to complete that home study.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, we're gonna try that. Leah?
No, I was just gonna try to make you aware that there's some technical issues. I mean, people are saying they're having
Oh.
issues seeing stuff, and David having issues, you know, going in and out. I am too. I don't know if it's all of our personal connections or what the deal is, but
I'm not sure either. I'm struggling sharing this again. I'm gonna go ahead and just share in a different manner to make this work. Ben, did you have something to add while I'm getting this
Yes.
shared?
I was just going to point out that there are some folks in the chat having difficulty displaying the content. I think by default view, they see the gallery, all the faces. I believe you have to go to view in the menu in the top and select focus on content. I think that's what allows you to see the presentation rather than the gallery. If you haven't done that, give it a shot. You don't currently have a presentation up. Is that correct, Debbie?
That is correct. I lost it when someone popped in on me.
So after she has the content back up, I believe you can go to focus on content. You should be able to see the presentation. Thanks, Debbie.
Thank you. All right. Oh, let me get to where we.
Debbie, it's Marcy. Can I ask a question while you're trying to do that?
Of course.
Okay, we'll fill the space here. You said that that enumerators must have their home training completed before coming to school. Let's say somebody does it. Do we call them and say, don't come to school? Or do we let them come to the school and then not let them do their stuff until they've done it? Like, are there any hard, fast deadlines here? Or is there a recording of the training somewhere, or this is the only one? I know these questions are kind of circulating around in some people's mind because we got some slackers out there every once in a while. What would be your way of handling all of this?
My way of handling all this, I would start with, we have that, like I said, the 10-day timeline to send out to enumerators. The big part is I wouldn't wait. If we are, let's say 5 days out before the school, I would start calling those enumerators right away to make sure that they're reviewing the materials. I would hate to say they cannot attend in person because obviously that's going to put more responsibility on the coaches and the managers or coaches for training purposes. But really, we need to ensure that everyone is, we need to ensure everyone's reviewing the home study materials, whether it's a new enumerator experienced, this is something that they all have to complete. So I guess it goes back to, you guys are getting those email responses. I'd be following up with enumerators that haven't yet completed it. We have 9 days before the first school. if you have an enumerator who hasn't completed it, just give them a quick call and see what their status is. So sorry, Mercy, I guess that's
Thank
kind
you.
of a non-answer. I
No, you
would
did,
not
you
tell
did.
them they can't go, but I would ensure that they get it done as soon as possible.
But they should not be working until they do have their quiz turned in and reviewed with their coach, I guess is the sum total of the
Correct.
situation.
Correct.
Perfect.
All right, we'll see if this view works a little bit better now. So any additional or any other questions before we move to the next slide? I'm not seeing any.
Does the 3 hours for home study include the quiz as well? Or
Yes,
is
it
that a
does.
separate?
Yep.
Okay.
It does. And as I mentioned, we need to set some sort of guidelines because I'll be honest, if I said 6 hours, we have some enumerators that no matter the amount of time they spent, they're going to claim 6. So we want to make sure that if you have an enumerator, they take the time needed to do a good job. Someone who's struggling, someone who's new, they could take more. Please make sure that that communication is just being made and that their enumerators are talking to you and the managers with the things that they're struggling with. All right, so now jumping into our actual field session. So this is required for all enumerators to attend or for you as a coach to go out with them to their first field and review all the materials with the enumerators. Hopefully everyone already has all your dates lined up. However, Kansas, Oklahoma, and Texas, you guys are going, you have a fairly short time frame just because data collection starts sooner for you between the 17th and the 21st. All other states, we have the 7th start with the 17th through early May. I did not give a set time. We kind of left it to your discretion to ensure you gave enumerators enough time to set up their fields. And also, if you do have to ship your materials to your coach, please make sure that you're giving yourself a little bit of buffer between when NAS materials get to you and you're shipping materials to your coaches. All right, for our prep. When we sent out the memos about home studies and the training material or the training timelines, we also included this training checklist. You need to review all the training talking points before your field session. It is very important that you are comfortable with all of the notes before the meeting. If you have any questions, that they are addressed before you are in front of your enumerators. This is it's general. It does not go over every single point. So please, if you have any additional comments or notes that you want to ensure that you talk about, things that'll help you through your practice, go ahead, make your own notes, highlight pieces, whatever you need to do to ensure that you are prepared before you're out with your enumerators. Next piece is your attitude is going to influence the group's attitude. So whenever you are working with your enumerators, whether it's in the field, whether it's in the whether you're in the meeting space or on the phone, please make sure you're always maintaining a positive attitude while you're with your enumerators. The next one is we want to ensure that we're always staying on task and that everyone is participating. So it is your responsibility to ensure that all the enumerators are staying on task, things are keeping moving in at a good pace, and that all the enumerators are engaged while they are both in the field and also in the meeting space. All right, so you can have a separate meeting space from your location. However, you have to have a field nearby. So we do have up to 2 hours for demonstration and field practice. I'm gonna be honest, that is on the high end. I really expect that most of this could be done in an hour to 90 minutes, depending on the group size or your experience. What we would like you to do is, coaches, take your time, and we're going to start at the starting corner. We're going to talk about your steps into the field, laying out a plot, determining the commodity status, and completing the Form Bs. After you do your demonstration, we want enumerators to take time to practice all of that as well. So whether you have enumerators going out in pairs, if you have each enumerator doing that individually, work with new enumerators. We want everyone to participate in that field practice regardless of their experience. All right, so as I mentioned a couple slides ago, we want to make sure we're keeping enumerators on track. Please do not get hung up on what if or one-off situations. Go over the most relevant for your area, and if a numerator comes across an issue, please have them give you a call for guidance at that time. I know everyone has different experience or enumerators, whether new, struggling, or experienced. However, if you allow one enumerator to go off, I had this one time scenario, it really confuses a new enumerator or those that are struggling. So while you're in the field, please make sure you keep it as clean. Keep the scenarios clean to what they are most likely to see while they are out in the field. If one enumerator is struggling during the demo or during the field practice time, please work with them individually after the training. Do not hold up the entire group for one that is slowing everything down. The coaches, you are expected to go out with new enumerators, or I want to say this is going to be situation dependent on if there's an experienced enumerator closer. Please work with your manager to determine the best route if distance is a bit of a concern. All right, so as I mentioned last time, you can have a separate meeting location. I really recommend having a good enclosed location because we do have a lot of papers that you will be going through. All right, so once again, we're going to be going through our training checklist, make sure we hit all of those points. You're going to distribute the materials, build our kit envelopes. We're going to make sure everyone has all of their equipment, all the materials. The earlier we catch any of these issues, the better. So if they can leave with everything that they are expecting, the better we're going to be when they're on their own. The training checklist has common 2025 errors that NASS would like you guys to emphasize, and we're going to review those here in a little bit together. Also, we want to make sure we discuss safety procedures with the enumerators. There is a full list in the checklist, but stress the importance of checking the weather, the appropriate clothing, water, sunscreen. Ensure someone knows the enumerator is going to a field. We want to ensure that if any pesticide was sprayed within 3 days, we're not going into the field, even if that missing field counts. Okay, so safety procedures is making sure our enumerator stays safe is very important. We want to make sure we discuss the timeline and due dates while being efficient while going to the field, and once again, staying safe. So for example, if you have 4 fields that are close together, but you're in extremely high temperatures, the enumerators might need to do it in 2 days rather than risking a heat stroke in 1. So once again, we're always making sure we're safe in the field. After our field practice, we want to make sure we review the shipping procedures, and we also want to discuss any questions the enumerators have at the OY training. All right, do we have any questions about our field practice? I am going to go over some of these pieces individually, but before doing that, do we have any questions on our actual field practice time? All right, not seeing any. We're going to dive into some of our forms. There we go. All right, so Form A is for contacting operators. Enumerators can start contacting operators as soon as their home study is complete. All right, so I know that for Kansas, Oklahoma, and Texas, they are already available in CAPI. Everyone else, they will be available on Monday. So they can start contacting operators as soon as home study is complete to get that permission. We do have here that we want 3 phone attempts before attempting a personal interview, but please review the comments, make sure you check no phone records, make sure we are doing due diligence on those Form A's. When you guys are going out or when enumerators are going out, please make sure we're always planning efficient routes while going out and visiting our operators and counties, or if we have other surveys going on that we can collect along the route. The last bullet point I hear, it could be different, could be new depending on what area you're in. If an operator is inaccessible after 2 months, you're going to submit both the Form A and B as a refusal with a comment operator not found. The reason it has to be submitted as the code status has to be refusal is because if you mark it as inaccessible, it's just going to keep reappearing. So this is one way we're going to try and manage some of these records. After 2 months, we're going to focus on the operators that we did talk to, and we're going to continue that data collection. David?
On the 3 phone attempts before personal interview, I understand why we do that for most surveys, but this survey is going to be very difficult for a farmer, especially our older farmers, to explain where a field is over the phone on a phone attempt. So are you talking about 3 phone attempts to set up a personal interview with them before you go try to see them? Or are you saying we're supposed to try to do it over the phone? Because I don't see it being productive, because we'll get a lot of refusals over the phone, as well as trying to get where the actual field is. It's going to be difficult for a lot of these farmers to explain where the field is over a phone. As opposed to having your iPad right there, you have pinpointed where their house is and they can show you where the field is on the map.
I will say that it's going to be different for every enumerator. If we are, I don't want to say absolutely we have to, no phone calls. If we are going out and doing our field visits, please make sure we're being efficient. I do agree that when you're face to face, you're definitely, the information being able to be shared is a lot cleaner, a lot easier to be able to collect. So I want to go with, use your best judgment on your enumerators. Make sure that that communication is being shared. So there is my vague answer that I would say that I am okay if an enumerator goes to straight face to face. We just need to make sure that enumerator is being, like I said, efficient with their time, that communication is given to managers and ADs that this is something that we would like to do. Like I said, this is where it's hard. There's no one size fits all on everybody. We do know that some enumerators will make that phone call and they will be successful on it. So do the best with the resources that you have. All right. Marcia, what is the date of 2 months for Texas and Oklahoma if the operator is not found in June or July? I have that at the end of the presentation. So Marcia, I'm really sorry. I can't remember the date I provided for you, but I know I have that at the end. Pamela added, it's very easy to talk to operators on the phone and they can drop a pin on a Google map and send a screenshot while talking on the phone and verify the exact location. So I think that goes back to, it depends on what farmer you're talking to about what capabilities both they have and the enumerator has. Very good. Any other questions or comments? All right.
This is Jana. I had a comment. I had an operator last year on Weed OY that I dropped a pin and sent him a picture, and he said it was his field, and it ended up not being his field. If I had done it in person, I wouldn't have had that mix up. So we need to be very careful with that.
So I'm actually going to give a scenario that even in person, you could still have some of these same struggles. When we were setting up corn and soybeans and I was doing my practice field, I talked to a friend of mine who has a lot of land around us. And I thought she had a corn and soybean field right next to each other. And I asked her if I could go to that corn field and that soybean field. She told me yes. I went there and the operator of the soybean field came and told me that it was not her land, it was his. So it goes to is mistakes are going to get made. Sometimes it's when you're together, sometimes it's when you're not. Really just try and do the best that you can. If you do get in the wrong field, be upfront with the person and make sure that you guys are communicating that as well. So, like I said, do the best that you can. All right, guys, I know that we're getting close to an hour. I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to take our break just a little bit early. I hope we're okay with that. Let's go ahead and take 10 and we will be back at the top of the hour. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to pause our recording quick and we will be back at noon. So if you'd like to get a little snack, now is our time to sneak that in.